Welcome back again. This video is going to teach you how to add integers. Just to make sure you know what an integer is, it's going to be any whole number, so the hat can't be a decimal or a fraction, any whole number, and it can be positive or it can be negative, and it can also include 0. So for example, -2, -3, -4, 7, 8, 9, and 0. So that's what an integer is. Alright, so this is just kind of a quick way to visualize what happens when you add integers. If I have a -6 plus a -5, what you really are doing is you have 6 negatives, and if I think of 6 negative tiles and 5 positive tiles, one way you can visualize what's going on here, you have one negative and one positive. Well, that's like saying you have a -1 and a +1. And when I combine that, like if I owed somebody $1, but yet I had $1 in my pocket, I'm still at 0. So really, oopsie, this is the same as 0. So when you look at this, how many 0 pairs do I have? You can think of them as like canceling each other out, really. All of these equal 0. So together, that's 0. And what I have left here is 1 negative. So my answer is a -1. If you look over here, you have 6 negatives, 4, 5, 6, and 5 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, in math, when you're adding, it's really the same thing as saying you're combining them all. So in this case, I have no 0 pairs. I don't have any positives to add to the negatives. So you just combine it all. And if I count all of those up, I have a total of -11, 11 negatives. So visually, that's kind of how it works. I know sometimes your teacher may have used chips, like they might use yellow chips and red chips to use to show the positives and the negatives. This one, same thing. If I have 3 positives and 6 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I have a total of 3 0 pairs. So that all equals 0, and I am left with 3 negatives. So my answer is a -3. Now, before we move on, that's kind of how you visualize doing it. It's probably not going to be a great method to use if you have to do like a -84 plus 72. You're probably not going to want to draw that many negative signs or positive signs. So we're going to give you some rules to make things easier. But the biggest thing you have to remember is something called absolute value. For example, if I said, here, let me make some room. Okay, so I want the absolute value of, let's say, -7. Remember, absolute value has these little bar signs on the outside. And -7 absolute value is another way of saying how far is -7 from 0 on the number line. And we know it's 7 units, so the absolute value is 7. Or if I say, hey, what's the absolute value of a +6? Same thing, how far away is 6 from 0? It's 6. So it always comes out as a positive number. So you need to know what absolute value is for this next step. So here are the rules for when you add it. Definitely going to want to write these down and come back to them when you need to. So first thing, what if you add integers that have the same sign? For example, what if they are, let's say like a -7 plus a -6? You're adding those together. So they have the same sign. They're both negatives. Well, rule number 1, you just add up their absolute values. So the absolute value of -7 is 7, -6 is 6. Eee, there's a 6. And then you add them together, that equals 13. Second rule, keep the sign of the original integers. Well, all of them were negative, so you can see that right here. Negative, negative. So my answer should be negative. -13 is the final answer. Okay, and then what happens if you're adding 2 integers and they have different signs? For example, one is positive and one is negative. Well, first thing you want to do, again, find the absolute value of both. Absolute value here is 7, here is 6. But now you actually want to subtract smaller number from larger. So we go 7 minus 6, I'm getting those numbers from right here, and that equals 1. The sign of the answer is the original sign of the number with the larger absolute value. Holy, that's a lot of words. Okay, here's what that really means. My absolute value that I just found down here was 7 and 6. Which one is the largest? You should say 7. So then what is the sign in 7? And it was negative. So largest absolute value in the original problem was negative, so that means this is going to be a negative 1. I have a feeling we're going to have to practice a little bit to get that ingrained. So if you haven't gotten all these rules down yet, pause the video, write them all down, write my examples, and then move on. Okay, so first problem we're going to try, a negative 5 plus 6. Again, you should be writing this down. Remember, they have different signs, therefore I need to find the absolute value and subtract. So the absolute value of negative 5 is 5, of 6 is 6. Subtract them. 6 minus 5 is 1. So I know that equals 1, but is it positive or is it negative? Well, this is my largest absolute value, and in the problem it's positive, so it's just going to stay positive. Now, do you have to put a positive sign there when you write it? No, just write it like this. Regular 1. Okay, we're going to try number 2. Write this one down. Negative 3 and a negative 8. They both have the same sign, so take the absolute value, add them together, and you should get 11. Because they're both negatives up here in the problem, my answer is going to be negative. Now you need to try number 3 on your own. Pause the video. When you're done, check to see if it's the same as mine. So hopefully you did it like this, where you have the absolute value of both. There you have one's positive, one's negative, so you subtract them. Your answer is 6. To know if it's positive or negative, biggest absolute value is negative, so your final answer is a negative 6. Alright, just so we know you're watching the video, answer this question and then move on. I don't like anchovies, if that's what you're thinking. Okay, you have 3 problems. I want you to try them all by yourself, no calculators. Write them all down, do the same methods, and then compare with me when you're done. So pause the video. Good luck. Okay, hopefully you are back. This first one here, first thing I see is they're different signs. So the absolute value is right here. I need to subtract that. Careful, I make silly mistakes when I go fast, so make sure you catch me. So I get 38. I have to figure out if it's positive or negative. This absolute value is the greatest, and that's a positive number. So there's my final answer. Okay, the next one, and I'm just making sure you are writing these down because tomorrow your math teacher is going to be looking for 6 problems on your paper. I hope you have them done. Okay, absolute value of these looks like that. It's the same sign on both, so I just need to add them together. And I know it's going to be negative. So my final answer, 115, oh wait, not final, it's negative. Ooh, can you read that? How about that? Okay. Oh boy. There it is. Negative 115. Hope you got that for your answer. Okay, and then the last one that you did, check and see if you thought this way. Absolute values of both. This one's bigger. There are different signs, so I need to subtract. I get 32. But again, is it positive or negative? This absolute value is the largest, so I go with that sign. So a negative 32 is your final answer. We'll keep working on these in class. If you're getting all these right, kudos. And can't wait to figure out what kind of pizza you think I like tomorrow. Alright, have a good day.